guys, welcome back to The Bright Side. Macy here, the Bright Side Girl, and today we're going to be doing my Mermaid Marathon reading wrap-up. Also technically part one of my July reading wrap-up because I will be covering everything that I read for the readathon, which ran June 26th through July 9th. I managed to get in 20 books, which sounds like a lot, but I did a bunch of graphic novels and short novellas and things as well, so it's not quite as impressive as it sounds. If you haven't already, I will link both of the readathon vlogs down below in the description as well as up in the cards. They were kind of a disaster. I had a lot of birthdays and events. I got sick. I can't believe I even got this many books in because I was just not doing well for the first week especially. But I'm here to talk to you about everything I read, so we're just gonna get started. We're gonna go in order of the way that I read them just because this is a little bit easier for my brain. Anything that is an audiobook, I will put the narrator right here and let you know my thoughts on it. Anything that's a physical book, I will also let you know. Oh, and forgive the empty shelf behind me. This is where I had taken my Mermaid Marathon wrap-up photo and I haven't put them back yet. Okay, so I started off the readathon with Our Vengeful Souls, which is a new release for 2023. This is like an Ursula villain backstory, which is a good one to save for Retoldathon, which I'll talk about at the end of the video. I did this one on audio. I thought the narrator was pretty good. I really was surprised by this one. I really enjoyed it. There was like a couple of plot holes that weren't great, and it was a little bit all over the place at times. There's like some battles in here, there's some romance in here, there's some friendship in here. Be warned, it is a villain backstory, so the endings are always a little bit brutal. But overall, I thought it was like really fun and like a solid read. It does take place mostly on land, so just kind of keep that in mind. Like the first part of the book is under the water. We're following Triton's sister and the events that happened when they were younger. I really enjoyed it. It was a good first pick. And I read The Glass Mermaid by Melanie Karsak on audio. I did not really love the narrator for this one. She did really good with the basic story and the female parts, but then for some reason when she would do the male voices, she would go super monotone and kind of boring, and it kind of took away from the love story for me. So this is a short, like 3-hour audio, maybe 2 hours novella mermaid that comes to shore and like hunts for sea glass and like falls in love. I thought it was okay. I thought it was going to be like a 5-star. I really enjoyed Melanie Karsak's writing style. She's an indie author, so that's always fun. I really liked her Christmas Carol retelling that I read last winter, and I plan on reading a couple more of hers for the fall. I found this one enjoyable, and it's good if you want like a short read, but it wasn't like a favorite, so this was probably like a 3-star. Then I read Ariel and the Curse of the Sea Witches. So this is a graphic novel that takes place after the events of The Little Mermaid, and Ariel and Eric are traveling to like Antarctica to set up like a shipping port, and Ariel runs into some mermaids and she's trying to kind of keep their environment safe while still building this port, so it's got a little bit of that kind of a story going on. I thought this was really fun. I thought that it did justice to the characters. I liked the introduction of the different tribe of mermaid, and I thought it was really fun overall. So I never know how to rate graphic novels, but I gave this one 4 stars. Then I physically read on ebook Ice Mermaid by MC Frank. Again, this is an indie author. Again, she also has like a Christmas style retelling book that I read a couple years ago that I really enjoyed. This is a very short novella that takes place before the next book, which I think is called Salt for Air. I really like MC's writing style. This one is very short. I think it was less than 100 pages. We're following a mermaid that lives on an iceberg and witnesses the Titanic and saves a man from the Titanic. I thought this was cute and fun. It's very insta-lovey. It's again a little bit all over the place. I thought the setting and the descriptions of the setting was fantastic, with her being like on the iceberg and all of that stuff, but I really wanted it to be a little bit longer, so I'm hoping that I love the next book a little bit more. So this one was like a 2.5 3-star. Then I read Prince of Sea and Song by Lindsay Miller. I was so excited for this one. This was the group read for Mermaid Marathon, so I did this one via audio. I absolutely love the narrator. This is following Eric's perspective just a little bit before the events of The Little Mermaid and then into the events, and Eric has his own curse that he needs to uncover. We've got more of a swashbuckling piratey adventure in here. There are witches and ghosts, and I just thought it was really fun. I don't always love the Disney book, but this is probably my favorite one now. I just thought it was a really good time and really well done, and it had like a kind of a classic YA vibe about it, and it wasn't quite as young as some of the other Disney books are. So I really enjoyed it, and I gave it 4 stars. Then I read Sailor Twain and the Mermaid in the Hudson. This is a graphic novel about a captain of a riverboat that discovers a mermaid and the events that take place after that. So this one is all in black and white. The art is very cool. This is definitely adult. There's like adult content and adult photos and things in here. I enjoyed this overall, but the ending, I was just not really sure what exactly happened or how it wrapped up. So again, probably another 3-star, even though I enjoyed my time reading it just because I didn't really love the ending. Then on audio, I listened to Those We Drown, which was another new release that came out during the readathon. I really enjoyed the narrator for this one. This one's set on a cruise ship. We have basically a bunch of like social media influencers basically going on this sea semester for 2 weeks. It's kind of like a school almost, and we have one character that's got like a scholarship. She doesn't make as much money as everybody else. That's like a trope that I really like, is we've got like all these social media influencers and then like one person that's not, and they're like, what is happening? And they have this program on this cruise ship for like 2 weeks or a month. While they're on it, weird things kind of start happening that kind of give you like siren, mysterious ocean vibes, and I really liked it. This is considered a YA horror. I didn't find it scary at all. I didn't really even think that it was like that eerie or creepy. Could have used just a little bit more. Again, I enjoyed this one, but again, I didn't fully love the ending of it. I wanted just a tiny bit more, so I found this one really enjoyable and I enjoyed the narrator, so a 3.5. Another graphic novel was Tide Song. This is very cute. This is about a young girl that is going to have an audition at a school for magic, so she goes to study with her aunt in this like beach town, and she accidentally like summons a river dragon, and it's just so magical and fun and really, really cute, and it's about family and friendship and magic. I really enjoyed the art style for this. I think this is considered more middle grade, but I gave this one 4 stars. Another graphic novel is The Never Girls, the graphic novel Mystery at the Mermaid Lagoon. So this is a Disney graphic novel. I believe the Never Girls are all kind of based around like Neverland and Peter Pan, and this is, I think, the first one in the series. Definitely middle grade or younger. Very cute, very, very short. This was really cute. The graphics and everything were cute. The story was fun and fast-paced. Just a really quick, short one. So 4 stars for what it is. Another graphic novel was Aquacorn Cove. I was really excited for this one, and I have not read the Tea Dragon Society yet. Everybody loves this one. This is by Katie O'Neill. I didn't know that this wasn't related to Tea Dragon Society, so that's good to know if you're interested. I really didn't like this one. So the art style and everything is beautiful. We have a girl and her dad going to spend the summer with her aunt. Her mom has passed away, so she's going to spend the summer with her aunt. Again, we kind of have like a river dragon situation. This got really heavy on the environmental topics, which I very much agree with. I just felt like it was very, very heavy-handed, and there wasn't as much whimsy as I was expecting. And also the main character's aunt is like smoking throughout the entire book, so I felt like if we're gonna do a book about taking care of the environment, maybe don't have one of the main characters smoke. So I don't want to be too harsh, but I really didn't like this one. I was also very sick when I read it and kind of overly sensitive, so who knows, that could have played a part, but this sadly was like a 2.5 for me. Then I listened to American Mermaid, another new release that came out like a month ago. This is an adult novel about a woman who wrote a book about a girl in a wheelchair that tries to drown herself and discovers that she is a mermaid. And then this novel really takes off and gets picked up to become a movie. So the author moves to LA to work on the script and develop this into a movie, and she kind of has to deal with the directors and the LA lifestyle and all that jazz. So in this book, we're getting snippets of her actual novel like every few chapters, so that you're learning the story of the mermaid along the way. I loved the story of the mermaid. This has a very quick, witty temperament about it. I found out that the author is a stand-up comedian, so that makes more sense. It's very fast-paced. I really liked our narrator. Our main character is fairly unlikable for a variety of reasons. And this one, it didn't bother me too bad. I did prefer the stories about the mermaid because it was so interesting what was happening, and then wild and crazy things were happening on the other end. Again, the ending of this one was kind of like left open to where you could kind of make up your own mind. Sometimes I love that, but I wanted just a tiny bit more from the ending. So like a 3.5, almost a 4 star. I really enjoyed my time reading it overall, and it was very unique. I just wanted a little bit more from the ending. Then I hardcore DNF'd The Pisces. Now I have a list of mermaid books that I feel like are not actually mermaid books or are ones that I'm not going to like, and I pick like 1 or 2 of them every year to read because I just want to be able to like share with you guys my thoughts and feelings and maybe be surprised. I read Mermaid in Paradise last year that was on the list, and while it was like wacky and crazy and kind of annoying, I wound up really liking it and thinking it was like a fun read. Just never know. So I had heard this one was really bad. My friend told me she kind of wanted me to read it just so we could talk about it with her, and I decided to try and buddy read this with a different friend, and I got 100 pages in via audio. Then I just couldn't do it anymore. I was also, again, sick. This is a story about a woman in her late 30s that has just been broken up with. She kind of has like an obsession with her ex-boyfriend. So she goes to like this group meeting where people that have like obsessions, exes and things, go to kind of talk about their feelings, like a group therapy session, and get over things and kind of develop healthier perspectives. And then at some point she's supposed to meet a merman. So that was kind of what I was holding out for. But our main character is so unlikable, and there's a lot of stuff thrown in here just for shock value. This is definitely adult. It's considered chick lit. It might be considered satire, I'm not sure, but there's just very descriptive and honestly kind of disgusting scenes thrown in there. And I'm not even talking smut wise, I'm talking like literally she described her like picking up dog poop in her house and just weird things like that. There was one scene in here that actually made me gag because it was so descriptive, and I was just like, what is happening? And I just felt like it was just for shock value. This one has like a ton of awards. I don't understand why. I absolutely hated it. It might be my most hated book of all time now. I wanted to finish it just so I could truly rate it, but I couldn't make it through. And then I read some of the reviews and I know what happens at the end, and it made me furious. So mad. I didn't even get to the parts with the merman. So, hardcore DNF, negative stars. Then, thankfully, I read Maybe a Mermaid by Josephine Cameron. This is a middle grade book. We're following a 12-year-old girl and her mom. Her mom works for this like Mary Kay type cosmetics company, and she's like higher up in the company. She's doing really good. They kind of work as a team together to stay positive and to hit goals. And her mom books them 2 weeks at this resort that she used to stay at when she was a young girl. And the daughter is very excited about it, but when they get there, everything is more like run down and old than she was expecting, but she winds up making friends anyway and just like learning things, and other somewhat mermaidy things kind of happen. It kind of has like a camp vibe about it. It's got like a growing up, making friends, learning lessons type of vibe, but I thought this was one of the cutest middle grade books I've ever read. I really enjoyed it. I loved a couple of the friendships in here. I loved the mother-daughter dynamic. I just thought it was really good, and I gave it 4 stars. And the narrator for this one is one of my favorites ever, so that's one of the reasons I picked it up, because I love this narrator. Then I finally listened to Fear the Drowning Deep. This has been on my TBR for so long. The narrator for this one's really good. It has like an Irish folklore vibe about it. We're on this coastal island town. Our main character, Bridie's father, was said to have drowned with a smile on his face, and there's kind of rumors that there's like something in the water, and so there's like this mysterious stuff about the water. I was thinking this was going to be a little darker and a little creepier. It's not really. It's got more of like a coastal vibe. We do have some like creepy things happening, but overall it's a lot like a lot of the other like mermaid ocean style books. You're trying to figure out what's happening. This one was very unique and took some twists and turns and had some creatures and things that I did not expect, and some different types of myth and lore that I really liked. I really enjoyed this one. I thought the narrator was really good. It's going to be one that I really recommend. I cannot confirm or deny if it's a mermaid book because I don't want to spoil anything, but it's got a lot of those coastal vibes. It works for Mermaid Marathon either way, but I give this one 4 stars. Then I physically read Atlantis Rising by Gloria Craw. This is part of a young adult trilogy that I was so excited for. I wasn't sure if there were actual mermaids in here or not, and I can confirm that there are not. And I can tell you that because that's not really a spoiler, because we're not really hinting at it at all. This is following the children of Atlantis, which also was very promising and I was okay with, but it's set in Vegas. There's no water magic. There's no mention of going to Atlantis. I know that authors don't always have control of their covers, but we also have these underwater chapter headers, and it's called Atlantis Rising, so I just wanted something to do with underwater and Atlantis, and there was none of that. If you're taking all that aside and you don't care about that, I still didn't totally love it. It's kind of got like a superhero, supernatural vibe about it, but there's a lot of like going to high school and making friends and discovering who you are, and a little bit less about the actual magic system. I found myself kind of bored at times. I didn't really care about the romance. I thought some of the friendships were cute, but I probably will be unhauling this one. I did check to see if the second book is in Atlantis or is mentioning that at all, and it didn't, so I'm probably going to be unhauling this series. Unfortunately, did not live up to my expectations. Then I listened to The Mermaid, the Witch, and the Sea. This was almost my favorite book of the readathon, but I think Prince of Sea and Song beat it out, just barely. So I really love the narrator for this one. So we're following the pirate Florian in this one, who is actually Flora in disguise. She's on this particular ship with this imperial lady named Lady Evelyn, and they are supposed to be taking her to go to her betrothed off on the floating islands, and then the pirates that Flora works for take over the ship and are basically holding her hostage. And she's in charge of like watching out for the lady. But she has disguised herself as a male, basically to make her life on the pirate ship easier. Evelyn thinks she has this male guarding her and she doesn't really know what's happening. So we've got a sweet romance in here. We've got a lot of magic. There's a lot of pirates. There's a lot of witches. There's really cool stuff about mermaids. It's got a very fairy tale-esque vibe. There was a couple parts where we bounced back and forth in the timeline a little bit that I got a little bit confused as to why, and it didn't really explain why we were jumping back and forth. But other than that, I super enjoyed it, and it was like a solid 4-star. And we've got a cute little mermaid down here. Then again on ebook, I read Speechless by Madeline Freeman. This has been on my Mermaid Marathon TBR and my Galaxy TBR for a couple years now. This is a free ebook I got on Amazon. I believe it's always free. Part 1 of a series. It's supposed to be a sci-fi Little Mermaid retelling. This is a very unique world set in California. Parts of California have been sunk in a disastrous earthquake, and they're kind of like rebuilding LA back up and calling it old LA, but they have these divers that go into the ocean in different areas to find artifacts and things to sell, which is a trope that I really love. Like a sunken city where they have to go and find artifacts and things to sell. Our main character is called an apparition. She has gills. It's not like illegal to be an apparition, but she kind of hides it because it's kind of looked down upon. So she's really good at diving and like finding things, but she has to be careful. It has a little bit of a dystopian vibe to it. We also have this program where we've sent a colony to Mars, and you can basically watch them on TV 24/7, kind of like a reality show. And our main character has always dreamed of going and being on one of the colonies on Mars. So I can confirm that this would be better for Galaxy-a-thon. Our main character is not a mermaid, but she does have gills, but it's not super water, ocean heavy. It's got more of the sci-fi vibe. I was really enjoying this for like the first half, and then the plot kind of slowed down and didn't really go places that I expected it to go. There were some twists and turns that I really liked, and the writing style was very good. Like, it flowed really nicely. And again, this is an indie author, which don't always work well for me, but I really liked her writing style. I will probably check out the next book in the series because I want to see if some things happen that I wanted to happen. And overall, I had a pretty good time with it. Not the best pick for Mermaid Marathon, but even though it is considered a Little Mermaid retelling, there were a couple of those aspects in there, but it was pretty loose. Like a 3.5. Okay, almost done. So then I listened to The Little Mermaid Against the Tide. Again, another new release. This came out this year in preparation for the movie. This is kind of like a prequel to The Little Mermaid. We're following Ariel, and she's doing this ceremony to kind of take over this region and be given more responsibilities. Sisters all come in to support her and be a part of it, and then something goes wrong. If you want a glimpse into Ariel's sisters more and more of their personalities, this book has a lot of it. This one is on the younger YA side, so almost has like a middle grade vibe, but it was very adventurous, very fun. We've got Flounder and Sebastian in here. Ariel's father is just out of control and obnoxious, but we've also got different sea creatures, and this one's set entirely underwater, which is rare now with mermaid books. It's hard to find them where they're actually underwater. And I really enjoyed it. So I gave it 4-star. It's probably more like a 3.5, but I just thought it was really adventurous. Again, the Disney books don't always work for me, but I thought this one was just really fun. Then I listened to Mermaid by Jodi Picoult. This was a like 50-minute long audio that took me like 25 minutes to listen to. This is an adult novella. So in this one, we're following a woman who used to be a mermaid at like a theme park or an aquarium, and her husband are marine biologists. They're assigned to study this like exotic fish. And so they decide to turn their pool in their backyard into this habitat for this fish, and they get a bunch of these fish in, and they're supposed to study them, and then the fish start disappearing, and they have to figure out why. So it's got like a magical surrealism vibe, kind of like House at the Bottom of the Lake loosely, but this is so incredibly short. It has some sad parts in it about like marriage and just life in general, and it went by really fast. I'm not entirely sure how we're supposed to feel about the ending or not, so I gave it like a 3-star. I enjoyed so many parts of it, but then it just ended and I wanted more. And lastly, I finished The Vast and Brutal Sea by Zoraida Cordova. I actually finished over half of this because I'd already read like 120 pages before the readathon, because this is on my unfinished series list and it was one that I needed to finish. I didn't want to start anything new, so I just finished this one, but I'm counting it. And this is the final one in her Mermaid trilogy, and this one follows a merboy, merman, and it has every sea creature you can imagine. We've got marrows and mermaids and sirens. We've got vampires. We've got all different kinds of like creatures and monsters, and it's so fun. I talk about this in other videos, so I don't want to go too in depth, but this one has kind of similar vibes to like Undertow, where it's just like an action-packed adventure. Again, kind of on the younger, like more fun side, but I really enjoyed my time, and so this one was 4 stars. Okay, so this is a long video. Hopefully you hung in there. Hopefully you got some more recommendations, some more ideas of things that you might like for next year. A couple of these will work for Retoldathon, which is my next readathon, all themed around retellings. So if you didn't get to things for Mermaid Marathon that were retellings, you can get to them for Retoldathon. The announcement video should be up for that already, so I'll link it down below in the description, as well as up in the cards. This is everything that I read for the readathon. So like I said, around 20 books with 1 DNF in there. I feel like I did pretty good overall. Let me know if you participated, if you had fun, if you're participating in the next one. Don't forget to follow me on Instagram at The Bright Side Girl if you haven't already, and I'll see you guys next time on The Bright Side.